The following is a presentation of the National Thoroughbred Racing Association and ESPN.
When you talk about two-year-old thoroughbreds in Del Mar, one name immediately comes to mind: Bob Baffert. America's most famous trainer, has captured the last 7 consecutive Del Mar Futurities, one of the premier juvenile events on the West Coast. But so far this year, Baffert's arsenal of 2-year-olds is low. His streak in serious jeopardy. The man who could break it, his former assistant, Owen Hardy. Hardy's star juvenile is Ruler's Court, a beaten favorite after a bad start in last month's Hollywood Juvenile. He gets his chance for vindication today in one of the first steps for 2-year-olds on the road to the Del Mar Futurity and the World Thoroughbred Championships, the $150,000 Best Pal Stakes. Plus live coverage of 2 turf events for fillies and mares, the $150,000 Lake Placid Handicap from Saratoga and the $100,000 Matchmaker Stakes from Monmouth Park. It's live coast-to-coast racing next. The Del Mar Thoroughbred Club has long been a playground for the rich and the famous ever since Bing Crosby met the first fan here when the gates opened in 1937. Lots of history in 66 years. We're here today to enjoy the sun, the surf, and the potential stars of tomorrow. Our feature race is the Best Pal Stakes featuring the 2-year-olds. Also from yesterday, the La Jolla Handicap, plus the gals on the grass, the Lake Placid Handicap from Saratoga, and the Matchmaker from Monmouth Park. Glad you're with us. Jeff Metters along with Randy Moss. But before we get to today, we've got to back up to yesterday. You were at Arlington Park for the Arlington Million. What a race. As Storming Home and Gary Stevens got to the wire, it started a chain reaction that we still feel today.
Storming Home was basically home free in the Arlington Million until the incident about 20 yards, 20 feet from the finish, where Storming Home and jockey Gary Stevens drifted out badly into the path of both Paolini and Kaya Tour. Gary Stevens was dumped to the turf in the process. And as you will see in this replay, turn away if you don't like to see anything that looks a little gruesome. But Gary Stevens will get kicked in the shoulder there by Kaya Tour and spun around. He was carried off on a stretcher, taken to Northwest Community Hospital in Arlington Heights, where he remains hospitalized today. Some good news. We don't have an official report yet. That'll come from his publicist. He's in the movie business now. But according to some friends of Gary, he had a collapsed lung when he got to the hospital last night that was treated, and preliminary x-rays, and again, this is not official, but we're told that preliminary x-rays show no fractures, but he's got pain in his shoulder and his neck. If that's indeed true from that video you just saw, he's a very lucky man.
Yes, he is. Storming Home was disqualified, placed 4th. Godolphin Suleimani was made the winner. It was their 100th grade or Group 1 win internationally, so Godolphin just rolling on. Let's take a look at the field for the Best Pal, and you will see Godolphin in here as well, or kind of a subsidiary. Sheikh Mohammed's well represented here with the Darley stud and his horse Ruler's Court.
And you can see the Best Pal Stakes for 2-year-olds in the juvenile division at 6.5 furlongs. Touch on some of the highlights. Number 3, Siphonizer, a very impressive winner of his career debut for trainer Richard Mandela. Julie Crone aboard. Those 6-to-1 odds will drop. Scratch the 4 Blair's Roar and Star, who would have been the pace setter. And we have a stakes winner in the field on the other page, Perfect Moon, who won the Hollywood Juvenile. Pat Valenzuela aboard. And there is the Dubai horse Ruler's Court, will be ridden by David Flores, who was aboard Suleimani for that big win by disqualification in yesterday's Million.
Noticeably absent Bob Baffert. You would expect him to have a horse in the Best Pal. Not there. For the answer to where's Bob, let's go to Hank Goldberg.
Well, Bob Baffert hasn't been without a horse in this race since 1995, but there's no shortage of 2-year-olds in his barn. It's just that he didn't run very many at Hollywood, and he hasn't been able to find a lot of maiden races for them here. So you'll be seeing his horses later on. In fact, he has a 2-year-old going in a 6th race today. He's supposed to be a pretty good one named Cooperation. And he also has the best filly, perhaps the best 2-year-old filly in the country, in Victory USA. So they won't be throwing any benefits for Bob soon.
All right, thanks, Hank. We sing here a little change of strategy for Baffert.
Well, it very possibly. I mean, Baffert is always had his 2-year-olds ready to roll this time of year, and sometimes when you have horses that are bred for classic distances, as Baffert's getting more and more frequently, they don't come around as quickly. We may be seeing that. Possibly Bob's deciding to sort of wait a little longer in the year before he fires them up. You never know.
All right, we'll get back to the best pal a little bit later in this show, but first, live racing from Monmouth Park. Fillies and Mares in the Matchmaker coming up.
The road to the World Thoroughbred Championships powered by Dodge. This ESPN presentation of the Best Pal Stakes is brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. By Sitco, we know you. By Budweiser, the best things in life are the things that are true. Budweiser. By Long John Silver's new buckets of crunchy shrimp.
It was a doubleheader weekend this weekend with Arlington and then out here at Del Mar. Same next weekend. Big doings at the Travers Sports Center. Will be at Saratoga next Saturday starting at 5 Eastern time. So it'll be a lot of fun. You want to be out there. Kenny Mayne, Randy Moss and company. The Travers, of course, Bobby Frankel won it last year with Medaglia d'Oro. You saw it there trying to win it again this year with Empire Maker. And our first live race takes us out to Monmouth Park. It's Fillies and Mares, the Grade 3 Matchmaker out there, and of course it's on the grass.
And the Best Pal is on the main track, but the other races we'll be bringing you this afternoon, including some bonus coverage, all on the grass. This is a Grade 3 race from Monmouth Park in Oceanport, New Jersey, which of course is the home of the Haskell, where we saw a good race by Peace Rules earlier this summer.
That's right. All right, here's the field now for the Matchmaker.
1A, 60 seconds. Part of the entry there, trained by Christophe Clément, has been scratched. But Christophe is not hurting because number 1 Volga is a very deserving favorite and is 2-1 right now. You see Lady Linda at 4-1, the runner-up in a stakes race at Colonial Downs to Dress to Thrill in her last start. Southern Fiction 8-1, Cocktails and Dreams 21-1. We've got a couple more scratches, or one more. First of all, number 5 Affirmed Answer, very live in here at 4-1. Scratch the 7 Lady of the Future, and rounding out the field. On the next page, we will see another scratch there of the 12 City Fire. Todd Pletcher, the trainer of the number 10 Something Venture. Todd, of course, is breaking all the records at Saratoga, but he also has a second string stabled at Monmouth Park.
Well, you know, in our Racing to the World Thoroughbred Championship Series, we touch on all the divisions, and now into the Filly and Mare Turf. Some potential stars in here that we may see later on at Santa Anita at the Oak Tree meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some of the upper echelon horses in races like the Diana and yesterday the Beverly D. These aren't really your Grade 1 type horses. This is a Grade 3 stakes races, but some of these horses can show some improvement. And this horse in particular, the 5 Affirmed Dancer, has only run 8 times in her career, so you would think there would be plenty of improvement there in her form. And she's very well bred. She is a daughter of Affirmed, who ironically the Triple Crown winner, the late Triple Crown winner, who never ran on the turf, but yet he's turned out to be a pretty good sire of grass horses. She's won 4 of her 8 starts. She's trained by John Kimmel. She has yet to win a stakes race, but she's been second 3 times against stakes company.
And there's the 10 horse Something Ventured. And Hank, what do you know about this young lady?
I know he's trained by Todd Pletcher. It's not a good idea to leave Todd out this summer. He's just been on fire since setting the records at Belmont. He's about to set another one at Saratoga. But this horse figures to be close to the pace. And I know City Fire was probably, his connections were hoping that the race would come off the grass, but he figured to be the speed in the race. Now I think Something Venture might be able to control the pace, and I think that's the horse I like.
Todd Pletcher's got 28 wins, Jeff, at Saratoga right now. He's dominating that meeting to such an extent that the second place trainer in the standings has 6 wins. But some bad news for Pletcher yesterday when Harlan's Holiday finished last in the Saratoga Breeders' Cup and suffered an injury that might end his career.
Something Ventured has won 5 of 19 lifetime, and all 5 of those wins have been on the grass. And what do you think about how this race will unfold?
Well, when it's on the grass, of course, pace is not as important as it is on main track races. We see that over and over again, and certainly, as Hank mentioned, with the scratch of City Fire, it takes a lot of the pace out of this race. But on paper, clearly, the horse to beat in here is the number 1 horse, Volga, trained by Christophe Clément, because Volga has not only been running against some of the very top fillies and mares in the country, she actually ran In the 1991 Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, finished 5th. She's competed in 4 Grade 1 races in the U.S., and she's been right there in some of them. She was beaten just a length and a half in last year's Beverly D. So in a field, it's a Grade 3 field. Volga is a strong Grade 2 kind of horse, and you can even make a case for a Volga in a Grade 1 type of situation.
That's the fun thing about turf racing. They kind of jockey for position, and then it's the sprint once they reach the top of the stretch, and at that point it's kind of anybody's guess. Horses now starting to load at Monmouth Park for our first live race, the Matchmaker.
Volga will also be ridden by Joe Bravo, who is running away with the riding standings at Monmouth Park.
Moving into the outside stall, and they're all in line, ready for the start. They're racing in the Matchmaker, and off to a good beginning. Katie Kreitz is sent hard for early speed. Katie Kreitz gunned from the beginning by Alfredo Clemente, and they open up by 2. A Firm Dancer is away running in second. Twilight's Prayer is third. And then comes Francois, Something Ventured on the outside, followed by Cocktails and Dreams. Down toward the inside part of the course, Lady Linda. Then it's Southern Fiction, Cruise Along, and Volga. But it is the free-running Katie Kreitz who ran a quarter in 23 3/5 seconds and opens up 3.5 going into the clubhouse turn. Twilight's Prayer quickly cuts into that gap, cuts it down to a length of 3/4 while being hard held in second. It's another 4 to Something Ventured in third. A Firm Dancer fourth on the inside, then Cocktails and Dreams. Lady Linda drafting in behind horses, 9 lengths from the front. Then Francois, followed by Southern Fiction, Volga to the inside, and Cruise Along allowed to trail early, 13 lengths from top to bottom in a 47 4/2 mile. It is Katie Kreitz, and she continues to be ridden along on the lead. She's now 2.5 in front. Twilight's Prayer biding her time, going okay right now under Dale Beckner. Cocktails and Dreams 6 lengths off the lead on the rail. Then Something Ventured. Lady Linda's got 7 to make up. Now she's pushed on, and they're starting to close the gap. Then Cruise Along and a Firm Dancer, followed by Southern Fiction on the inside, and Volga's right there too. 3/4 in 1:11 3. They're into the stretch, and a new leader as Cocktails and Dreams has taken over. Twilight's Prayer is second on the outside. In the center of the course, Volga coming with her run. Then Lady Linda. They're in the final furlong, and Volga explodes. Volga, with a dramatic burst of speed, has gone by them all and wins the Matchmaker by 2. Something Ventured was second best under the wire, and it's close for third between Cocktails and Dreams and Lady Linda.
And you touched on Volga. She really did explode down the stretch there under Joe Bravo. A pretty convincing victory for her.
Well, one thing I neglected to say about Volga that might have been somewhat important, she was making her first start in here since December of 2002. This is August 2003, but with Christophe Clement, it is seldom that much of a concern. He's so careful where he places his horses, and his horses are always so fit that the layoff is not really that big of a deal. As you can see, didn't bother her any.
An 8-month layoff, but Volga comes through big time in the stretch under Joe Bravo, gets the win for Christophe Clement, and wins our first live race, the Matchmaker. More on the Matchmaker when we come back. You've always dreamed of standing in the winner's circle with your own thoroughbred. It is probably not that far-fetched. For more information, just go to thegreatestgame.com. And that is Volga at Monmouth Park, making her way into the winner's circle after winning the Matchmaker. She's now won 5 of 14 in her career and about $470,000.
And those weren't the connections of Volga we saw there. Joseph Allen is the owner of Volga. Allen has been a racehorse owner for many years of some note. As a matter of fact, Joseph Allen raced a good horse in the past called Dynaformer, who is the sire of some of the horses we're going to see in one of our races later on.
There's how they shook out. Volga getting the win. Something Ventured second. Then it's Cocktails and Dream. Volga snaps an 0 for 7 mark in the United States since coming over from France back in 2001. Back on track maybe for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. 5th there in 2001, and maybe she does have the right stuff.
As you can see, she was clearly the best horse. $7, I guess, has turned out to be quite a gift. She was way back at the top of the stretch, exploded through the lane to a comfortable win.
And as we mentioned, coming off an 8-month layoff. Well, on this week's Full Patrol, Boundary was in the money in all 8 of his career starts, winning 6 of them, including 2 graded stakes victories. He's new as a sire. Here's one of his latest additions. This is a 3-month-old filly out of Quackadoodle-Doo. Quackadoodle-Doo happens to be the Grand Dam of Banshee Breeze, who won over $2.7 million in her career, including the Alabama and the Gopher one at Saratoga, and was named champion 3-year-old filly back in 1998. And the Foal Patrol is brought to you by Claiborne Farm. If you'd like to see Boundary and the other 12 stallions that they have, go to claiborne.com. So often running with our fillies and mares on the turf, and of course later coming up we'll have the Lake Placid from Saratoga. Gorgeous day here at Del Mar though, and you have to have a little jet lag after coming in from Arlington yesterday.
I went to bed last night at 2 a.m. but when you're at Del Mar, you're always all jazzed up, so I feel great. It's awesome to be here.
All right, well, if you're one of our regular viewers on racing, the chances are you had a chance to see some of Tommy Sheridan's work. Tommy was a first-rate cameraman. He loved to surf, and he was an even better father. We lost Tommy this week at the all-too-young age of 44. He leaves behind his wife, Josie, his daughters, Caitlin and newborn Tara, and an army of friends. Tommy was definitely part of our family. He will be greatly missed.
The road to the World Thoroughbred Championships. Powered by Dodge.
Just a reminder, next Saturday, the Traverse Stakes. You can see that on ESPN, but Sports Center will also be at Saratoga. It will be a star-studded affair, 5 Eastern time. For more, you can go to ESPN.com. All right, let's put the focus back on the 2-year-olds and talk a little bit about this field that we have this year for the Best Pal.
The Best Pal, again, it's at 6.5 furlongs. It's a little further than these horses have been running, but not nearly as far as the top ones will be asked to go in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And not as many accomplished 2-year-olds this year in the Best Pal, perhaps, as we've seen in the past. But we see it time and time again every year. These horses develop as the year goes on, and some of these could turn out to be very, very nice horses.
All right, let's take a look at our current odds for this year's Best Pal. And as we mentioned, Bob Baffert does not have a horse in here. Right now, Feb 11 at 35-1. Siphonizer, lots of respect, ridden by Julie Crone at 5-2. Ruler's Court in there at 2-1. And Perfect Moon right now, Randy, at 9-2.
And Perfect Moon is the only stakes winner in the field. Of course, as we referenced earlier, he was the winner of the Hollywood Juvenile Championship in his last start, a race that has been very, very prolific in producing winners of this race over the years. And there is a look at Perfect Moon, rather, and jockey Pat Valenzuela. Pat Valenzuela right now is 1 win behind Julie Crone in the jockey standings here right now at Del Mar. Julie won the first race on the card, so they're locked in quite a battle. And of course, Julie is on Siphonizer in here.
So that should be another race within a race that we can keep an eye on. Let's catch up with Hank Goldberg.
Well, I'm with the trainer of Ruler's Court, Owen Hardy, and they were talking about the Hollywood Juvenile, and looked like your horse was taken out right at the start, as we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, from the pan shot, you don't really see that. But when you see the head-on, the horse inside of him came out, bumped me severely, and basically sent me to the outside fence, and it was hard to recover from there.
We have the head-on shot right here, Owen, and you can see your horse as he gets jolted and carried out about 3 or 4 wide. And yet he was able to make up ground in the race. It just looked like he came up short because he lost so much ground early.
Yeah, it's hard for any horse, especially a 2-year-old, to recover like that. You know, they've been taken out of their game plan. They've knocked off stride, knocked off balance, and right away, in order to get their horse into the race, you're going to have to hustle them and get after them, and it's hard to recover after that.
How's he trained since, and how about the 6.5 furlong distance?
I don't think the distance is going to be a problem. He's trained very well. He had a very good 3/4 work in here. It actually shows up as a 5/8 work, but that was a 3/4 work over the track, and he did that very well. He came back since then. I gave him an easy 5/8 the other day, so he's super fit, and if he's good enough, he should win.
Tiz Dubai is doing very well. You've got a chance to sweep the 2-year-old stakes races here.
She's done very well. She came out of the race in great shape. I'm not too sure yet whether I go in the Del Mar debutante or wait till Oak Tree.
All right, Owen, by the way, big difference between last year and this year, where you were only able to run 6 horses. You had illness in your barn, and this year you're back on top.
Yeah, thank God. Last year was a disaster. I thought I was going to be lucky to have a job after that. But thank God they stuck with me, and things have turned around.
Okay, all the best today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
All right, Owen Hardy, of course, a longtime assistant for Bob Baffert. A lot of success while he was there. And now we get into our silver memories, and it actually centers around Best Pal himself.
Of Of course, this race was originally called the Balboa at Del Mar, and for years the Balboa was, of course, one of the leading feeder races to the Del Mar Futurity. And then one horse performed so well in the Balboa Stakes, and then, of course, later on in a lot of other major stakes races around the country, that the Balboa Stakes was eventually renamed the Best Pal Stakes. And for our Long John Silver's silver memory, we will go back to Best Pal's 2-year-old season. This was a horse that was a multi-million-dollar earner in his career, and in the Balboa Stakes, he was very impressive, as you might expect.
Now it becomes a 2-horse race. Best Pal and X-Ray. Best Pal is going the better of the Dudo, and he now draws clear by a length and a half, and now you can make it 2. And it's going to be Best Pal and Pat Valenzuela coming off to add the Balboa Stakes to his list of laurels.
The late Best Pal, one of the most popular horses in California racing history, a gelding, and the very impressive winner of the race now named in his honor.
And that is our Long John Silver Memories. And the horses are on the track for this year's running of the Best Pal. 33rd running. And the 3-horse is Siphonizer. We mentioned ridden by Julie Crone. 1 start, 1 win, and a $140,000 Keeneland sales grab.
Trainer Richard Mandela was at Arlington yesterday to saddle the 10-man in the Arlington Million. That didn't turn out so well. He was due to arrive at noon today to put the saddle on this very promising colt. 1 start, 1 win by 3/4 of a length, ridden by David Flores that day. Flores opted to ride Ruler's Court today. No surprise because of his connection with Owen Hardy there, but Julie Crone picks up the mount on Siphonizer. The pedigree not that fabulous on Siphonizer. He is a son of Siphon, but Siphon also produced a good 2-year-old called Siphonic not too long ago.
Well, we talked about the jockey standings here at Del Mar. Julie Crone on top now, 22 wins, but a pretty good guy chasing her there in P-Val.
P-Val has just been phenomenal this year at California racetracks. Santa Anita, Hollywood Park. He's been riding in unbelievable form. All the handicappers around here have been raving about the difference that P-Val has made on the backs of some of these horses. And then here we come at Del Mar, and up comes Julie Crone, who is having a pretty good meet herself here at Del Mar, and they are locked in a tough race. But don't forget the guys behind him either. Victor Espinosa, Alex Solis, and Mike Smith.
And there was a sports book that made her a 1,000-to-1 long shot to win the riding title here at Del Mar. We had a chance to talk to Julie Crone about that. Here's what she had to say.
No, I didn't hear about it till afterwards, and I didn't have a ticket on it, of course, so I was like, oh, darn. And I know my agent and I were joking around, and we said it would have been fun to buy a whole bunch of tickets and give them to all the trainers on the backside. Then they would all put me on fast horses and want me to win the meet. So, but we missed the chance to do that.
Hank Goldberg talking to her yesterday. If she did buy a ticket, she's not telling, and it's tucked away in her pocket somewhere.
A lot of times, as impressive as horses can be in their career debuts like Siphonizer was, they show a lot of improvement second time out. And if that happens, then obviously this race is Siphonizer's to lose because he was impressive enough in his first start.
Let's talk about the pace here. I know young horses, not too many starts here, not much to go on. What do you think is going to happen? And who do you, well, before we get to that, just throw the Bud Long shot out there.
Well, it actually, you can kind of combine the two because the Bud Long shot could be quite a pace factor in today's Best Pal. And that Bud Long shot will be the number 11 Capitano. This was his career debut. This was July 5th at Hollywood Park. He was in post position number 1. You see, he got away from the gate okay, but he dropped back to the middle. This was just a 5.5 furlong race. That is Capitano on the inside with jockey Tony Lovato. Keep in mind, in this race, Capitano was only 109 to 1. The horse chasing him on the outside, Attack Alert, trained by Bob Baffert, was the 2-to-5 favorite, but Capitano got the job done. Paid $222 to win, and here he is in race number 2. As today's Budweiser long shot. And he didn't back into anything in that race. He ran hard from start to finish. And a footnote to that race, his owner, Viken Megarduchian, bet hundreds of dollars to win on Capitano in that race at odds of 109 to 1. And he went up after the race to cash his tickets. He was a very proud man. He asked the mutual clerk if she had enough money, indeed, in her till back there to pay him off. He handed her the ticket. It had the wrong number on it.
Oh, no.
It's not a laughing matter. I guess I shouldn't laugh, but at least the purse money was $44,000 total, so it wasn't a complete loss.
No, it wasn't. All right, Feb 11, the 1 horse.
Feb 11 is a horse that's run twice, lost the first time very badly against Capitano. As a matter of fact, 3 horses that ran behind Capitano, including Attack Alert, have come back to win their next starts, which is the sign of a very strong effort by Capitano. And Feb 11 was one of those. He came back to win in his next start at Del Mar, but it was against claiming competition, maiden 50,000 claiming. I really don't think Feb 11 has that much of a shot in here. But an interesting sideline there. Feb 11 is trained by Warren Studi, 81-year-old Warren Studi, who's been saddling winners around here obviously for quite some time. His younger brother, Mel Studi, also has a horse in this race, younger at age 76. Mel Studi is the trainer of Perfect Moon, the winner of the Hollywood Juvenile. It's a brothers competition here as well.
And looking at these 2-year-old races as a handicapper, what do you go on? Bloodline, past performance, how they broke their maiden, what workouts? What stands out for you?
To me, I look at fractional times of the races that the 2-year-olds have run in, because there can be such a discrepancy in competition at the 2-year-old level. You can get horses that break their maiden in a very easy-paced race, and other horses like Ruler's Court, for example, who've come out of races with very strong fractions, and that kind of points out a horse that's maybe a little better than he may look on paper originally.
All right, let's work in Hank Goldberg.
Moon, I think, is also bred to go a little bit longer, should like this distance, as will Siphonizer. So that's what makes it so competitive. I'll go for that exactly.
You can see Siphonizer there making his way up to the starting gate as they start to load here.
Perfect Moon will be part of the pace. So will Ruler's Court. So will Capitano. Siphonizer will probably be a little bit back off the pace. And there is B. Wayne Hughes on the right, and the gray hair, of course, best known as the owner of That's What I'm Talking About earlier this year on the Triple Crown Chase. And there to his right is Richard Mandela, who made it in. I guess his plane didn't get delayed. He made it in from Chicago.
Hughes and I have something in common. He's been on the Forbes 400 richest people list. I haven't, but he grew up in Godebo, Oklahoma, a small town in Oklahoma. I grew up in Tallahena, so that's kind of where the similarities start to end.
Godebo?
Godebo. All right, with the call of the 33rd best pal, let's go upstairs to Trevor Denman.
Wild Babe has become a little restless in the gate out here. We have the starter going over now to take a look, and the veterinarian coming over as well. Number 2, Wild Babe, just became a little excited there when they were loading. And Wild Babe, the veterinarian, now going to have to come over and take a look at Wild Babe. It's a pity they just had 2 or 3 runners left to load in there, and Wild Babe became restless and backed out of the gate, and we could have a late scratch out here. Veterinarian now coming over to take a look at Wild Babe. Runners inside the gate. The riders have dismounted, but they're still standing in the gate. There were still 3 or 4 of them left to load when Wild Babe became fractious. And he has now been remounted, so it looks like Wild Babe will be taking up his place in the gate. Wild Babe coming forward. The rest of them, meanwhile, have moved in. Capitano to the outside gate, going in. Wild Babe is right up to the gate. Comes forward and in. All set for the Best Pal Stakes. And away they go. Broken a perfect line. Perfect Moon on the far side is out fast, and Ruler's Court in the white cap came away well. Military Mandate is showing speed. Rush into Heaven 2 from the rail. Siphonizer 1 from the rail, and down at the rail is Wild Babe. They're all lining up on the lead out here. Just behind them comes Badgett's Mandate in the pink colours. Feb 11 is at the back of the pack, but only 4 lengths off these leaders, and Last Time in Town is at the back. They run past the half-mile pole, and Military Mandate now takes the lead. On the outside, Capitano in the red colours is in second. Perfect Moon races just behind them with Rush into Heaven, Wild Babe down at the rail. Then we come back to Ruler's Court in the white cap, now 6 and 4 lengths off them. Siphonizer down at the rail, now being asked to pick it up. In behind that comes Badgett's Mandate. They're approaching the quarter pole, and Military Mandate goes on with it, tackled by Capitano. Perfect Moon, now Siphonizer's getting out. And here comes Siphonizer and Ruler's Court. These two going to come on the grandstand side with their runs now.